Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're taking on a massive, rapidly fracturing puzzle, the global AI regulatory landscape. And we're going to approach this from a very specific, highly practical point of view. I want you to imagine you're an in-house counsel and you're prepping for a high-stakes briefing with your board of directors. You don't just need to tell them what the rules are, you actually need to explain how your engineering teams can build products that survive totally different global and local standards. Okay, let's just dive right in. First things first, as in-house counsel, we have to show the board exactly why they need to care about this, like yesterday. And the numbers are undeniable. AI oversight disclosures in Fortune 100 companies have just skyrocketed. We've gone from a mere 16% of these companies citing AI risk in their board oversight last year to an absolutely staggering 48% in 2025. I mean, that is a massive leap. Nearly half of the world's biggest companies are now putting AI governance squarely on the boardroom table. So, this isn't just an IT issue anymore, it's a top-tier corporate governance mandate.
All right, here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. Board oversight and overdrive. 2. The Hiroshima Standard for Substantive Risk Management. 3. Colorado and the Procedural Pivot. 4. Global versus local for developers. 5. Mapping tools to material influence. And finally, 6. The boardroom briefing strategy.
Section 1. Board Oversight in Overdrive. We really have to set the stage for the directors here. The stakes are immense. Our companies are integrating AI at lightning speed, but the regulatory goalposts just keep moving. Moving to Section 2. Hiroshima and Substantive Risk Management. To make sense of this shifting landscape, we really need to look at the global stage first, which focuses heavily on substantive risk management. So, our baseline here is the G7 Hiroshima process, established back in 2023. Think of this as the foundational DNA for international regulations like the EU AI Act. This process created a set of guiding principles aimed squarely at organizations developing advanced AI systems. It looks at the technology itself under the hood and asks, is the system intrinsically safe? They laid out 11 guiding principles. And for our dev teams, man, these aren't just high-level philosophical ideas. This means heavy-duty, substantive engineering. We're talking about mandatory red teaming to actively hunt for vulnerabilities, strict incident reporting, robust cybersecurity for the model weights, and actually building in mechanisms like content watermarking before AI ever even reaches the market. It's all about rigorous engineering of the tool itself, which, let's be honest, translates to plenty of sleepless nights for a dev teams trying to lock everything down perfectly. Which brings us to Section 3, Colorado and the Procedural Pivot. Because the moment we look at the United States, the entire playbook changes. Let's actually track how this happened, because the speed of it is wild. Colorado originally passed an AI law that was modeled pretty closely on that EU risk-based approach. But then, in December 2025, a White House executive order was issued aiming to challenge conflicting state AI laws. By January 2026, a DOJ task force officially intervened in litigation against Colorado's law, and in direct response to that immense federal pressure, Colorado pulled a massive legislative pivot. They signed a brand new bill in May 2026 that completely rewrote the rules, and this new framework takes effect January 1st, 2027. So what exactly did they pivot to? Well, they abandoned the broad regulation of AI development entirely, and instead focused laser-like on one specific concept: ADMTs. That stands for Automated Decision-Making Technology. The new law strictly targets technology used to, quote, materially influence a consequential decision. We're talking about high-stakes stuff here: employment, housing, lending. Under this new AMT framework, instead of dictating exactly how the AI is built from the ground up, the state now demands procedural transparency. We have to provide highly specific technical documentation to the companies actually deploying our tech. We have to make absolutely sure consumers receive clear notices when they interact with the AI. And get this, if the AI contributes to a negative outcome, say a denied mortgage, we have to issue a post-adverse outcome disclosure explaining exactly why that happened. So it's not just about how technically safe the code is anymore. It's about what we are proactively telling the consumer. Section 4, Global versus Local for developers. Now we have to figure out what this dual reality means for the engineers actually building our products. Our devs are basically getting pulled into entirely different directions at once. Globally, they have to build for deep, substantive risk safety, really focusing on how this system is built, tested, and secured. But locally, in places like Colorado, they have to build systems that can procedurally explain themselves to everyday consumers, focusing heavily on what we are disclosing. It's a massive operational puzzle. And here's the reality as in-house counsel. We literally cannot afford to run two totally separate compliance programs. That's an operational nightmare. We have to map these competing demands into one single unified engineering roadmap. The tension is so obvious, right? Global wants deep technical system testing and invisible watermarks. Local wants clear intended use limitations and plain language explanations of adverse outcomes. We need a system that does both without grinding our product development to a total halt.
Section 5, Mapping Tools to Material Influence. To bridge this gap, we need a really concrete action plan.
Let's look at how we actually build a practical workflow for the compliance teams. Step 1 is simple reconnaissance. We have to inventory and identify all the tech we use that even qualifies as ADMT. Step 2 requires rigorous testing. Does it actually exert influence on a major decision? And step 3 is our safety valve, applying statutory exemptions to filter out the noise. That second step is absolutely crucial. Material influence is basically the legal on-off switch for local compliance. The output of the AI has to be a non-insignificant factor. If our AI ranks resumes or scores creditworthiness or even just constrains the options given to a human reviewer, it materially influences a consequential decision. And if it does that, boom, those heavy transparency requirements kick in immediately. But okay, here's a bit of very good news for our stressed out developers over on step 3. We can filter out a massive amount of our routine tech. These new local laws explicitly exempt low-stakes business activities. Everyday tools like calculators, basic spreadsheets, databases, systems used just to summarize info for humans, and even our internal cybersecurity and fraud prevention tech, they are completely exempt from these heavy disclosure rules. We only need to focus our energy on the truly high-stakes ADMTs. Finally, Section 6, the boardroom briefing strategy. Let's synthesize all of these complex mechanics into our final pitch. When we walk into that boardroom, our authoritative advice has to be clear. Do not dismantle our existing AI governance programs. Our alignment with the Hiroshima Principles and the EU frameworks, still absolutely vital for our global operations and baseline safety. But we must immediately layer on local transparency audits. We need to audit our exposure to that material influence trigger right now so we don't get blindsided by state-level attorneys general. This right here is the ultimate takeaway we need to deliver to corporate leadership. We aren't just managing AI risk anymore, we are managing AI transparency. The era of simply building a technically safe AI in a lab is over. Today, we must be able to procedurally explain that AI perfectly every single time it makes a decision that impacts a consumer's life. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a vital question to take back to your own engineering and legal teams today. Look at the systems you're building right now. Is your compliance program built for global risk or just local disclosure? Because honestly, to survive in this market, the answer absolutely has to be both. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Take this framework back to your teams and good luck with the boardroom briefing.